Hi, my name is Paige. Welcome to my June TBR. So if you couldn't tell, I didn't post anything in May. And it's just because I have been really trying to get the hang of having a new job and getting in the routine of everything that entails. So my reading has been very, very different, but I have been reading quite a lot. So there are a few things that I can update based on what I read in April and what I didn't read, and I can add things to my board game as well. But this month is actually going to be very different. So June is my birth month. My birthday is June 30th, and I decided that because it's my birth month, I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to do things based on what I love, and if you have been around for a while, you know that I love Sims 4. I play it all the time. I can't get enough of it. I am not one of those people who goes in waves of like really enjoying it and then not playing it for months. I like consistently play it all the time, monthly. So I figured it would be really fun to do a Sims 4 picks my TBR type of video, so that's what this is. But I am going to do some housekeeping beforehand, so if you just want to get to the Sims 4 TBR, you can go to this timestamp if I remember to edit that in. Otherwise, I'm just going to do a little bit of housekeeping, let you know what I've been reading, and update my game board. So let's get into that. I had to write things down on my phone because it's been so long since I made my April TBR video that I couldn't remember what was even on my April TBR. So apparently I was supposed to read They Called Us Enemy, Simmer Down, The Woman in Cabin 10, It Ends With Us, and Gallant, and I only read 2 of those. So I do need to take a couple of punishments. I did DNF The Woman in Cabin 10, so I'm not going to take a punishment for that, but I did not read They Called Us Enemy or Simmer Down. So I do need to take a punishment for each of those books, which I should have done in May, but as I said, I did not make any videos in May, so I'm going to do those 2 punishments this month, and I guess I need to go grab those and figure out what the heck those are going to be. So I went through all of my moon cards and pulled out anything that has to do with prompts because I'm not pulling prompts this month, so everything else is what's left over. I'm going to shuffle them facing you, and I'm going to draw 2 out of here, and those will be what I need to accomplish this month. So let's go with this one right here. I'll read that in a second, and then we will pull this one right here, and I will not edit this section so that you can see that these are the 2 that I pulled out. I know you couldn't see where I put them, but I put them right next to me. But let me just read these. It says, oh, I need to make 1 book talk a week for this month, and I have really been contemplating moving a little bit over to book talk for some videos, but this will push me into trying it out because I'm just not sure how to make videos over there. But 1 book talk a week I need to post, and then I need to read a book entirely out of the house, which that works perfectly for me because I've basically just been listening to audiobooks while I'm at work and completing them while I'm at work. So these 2 I think I can manage in the month, but if I don't, I will have to face a few consequences later, but I think I can do it. I think I can do it. Alrighty, so I need to update you on what I've been reading and then update my board. So if you can see this pile right here, these are basically all of the books that I have read since April. So I read a bunch in April, and I read a bunch this month as well. And there are 2 books that I only had an audiobook for one and the ebook version for the other, so they are not here, but this is my stack over the last few months, so I've definitely been reading a ton. I just haven't been making any videos about anything I'm reading. So in April, I did finish 2 TBR books, so I get to move 2 spaces for that to this purple spot. But I also read between April and May, I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 other books. For every 2 non-TBR books, I get to move 1 space. So I read 12, that means I get to move 6 more spaces forward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to this lavender piece right here. And I've said it a million times, I don't quite know what I'm going to be achieving at the end of this. It's still a mystery to me, and we will find out when I get there. I will draw a random prize for myself and get a book based on that, and I'm thinking I might add a giveaway as one of the options, so if I pull the giveaway I can maybe send a book to somebody. But we will see when we get there. I still have quite a bit of reading to do before I can figure out what my reward will be. Alright, if you are here for my Sims 4 TBR, this has been something that I have had in my mind for a very long time. It didn't work exactly how I planned, but I also did not record myself while I was playing, so you are just going to be getting a narrative about what happened with my little Sim self, because I was greasy and in pajamas while I was playing this and figuring out OBS Studio, and I didn't want to re-record it. I just wanted it to be the original books that she picked. So originally my idea was that I was going to have my Sim go into a house with only books, and every single book that she picked up I would write down the genre and maybe like the synopsis that's on Sims and try and match a book to that. But my little Sim self decided that she was going to be a master DNFer and also just likes to touch books, so she would pick books off her shelf and put them right away. So I decided that wasn't going to work, so my TBR is going to be based off of the books that she completed in a single Sim day. So I set her up in a cute little house that had a bunch of reading areas, and I only gave her bookshelves. She had the necessities to survive and live, and basically that was it. I just let her do her own thing. A few times I had to prompt her to read something because she would just stand there and stare at nothing, but I think that was also my game glitching because my MacBook could not handle OBS Studio and Sims at the same time. So I will just let you watch how this goes as I narrate what my little Sim self did. This is little PM Raider. I made her a bookworm, I made her cheerful, and I made her a loner so that her social needs would not go down. I kind of thought I was going to have her spend a week in the house, but I'll let you know why that did not happen, or you'll see, basically, based on how many books that she picked up. I don't think I could have kept track of all of them. So let me tell you her story of the day. It took her a while to get started. She took about an hour of just standing in the entryway and eventually decided to play a video game. So if I could have taken her phone away, I would have. But eventually she noticed her bookshelves and walked over to them and decided to try out Love in the Time of Sandwiches, which was a romance, I believe, but she DNF'd it right away. And then she went back to the bookcase and picked up Orbital Pudding, but she picked it up and then immediately put it back away. So she probably realized that it was nonfiction and she didn't want to try that. It wasn't looking very good. I was also glad that she DNF'd in nonfiction, but this idea of picking books based off of my Sims wasn't working because she was already DNFing so much. Because then she read Playing with Your Food, but DNF'd it. She then picked up and immediately put away The Frequently Ending Story. So I was starting to realize a pattern. I think she just wanted to try like a chapter maybe of all of her books and put them away, or just like based off the cover she didn't like them. I don't really know, couldn't ask her. But again, she DNF'd another one called Etude and Double Stops and Other Fancy Things. And she also DNF'd The Spy Who Loved Measles. I was starting to realize that she was going to be DNFing a lot of books. She was also browsing her books quite often. So my idea was that I would only pick a prompt based off of what she completed. And she finally picked up a book that was called Duskglow, which was, I believe, a romance, and she got to 95% of the way. And I figured, that's good enough. Maybe she didn't read the acknowledgements in the back or the author's note or something. So that became my very first Sims completed book. So that became my first prompt, Duskglow. We will get back to that at the end. So next up, she decided to DNF one-word poems, which really made me question what was wrong with that one. One-word poems, she didn't want to finish, but I guess not. And I believe this was the time when her neighbor came over and she instantly got flirty talking to this older man. Instantly. But I sent him home right away and she went straight to a romance book and she finished Polka Dot Rumble. So Polka Dot Rumble is my second Sims prompt. And right after she finished that, she picked up a nonfiction, Tickle Your Own Ivories. And that was the third book that she completed for this day. So we're up to 3 prompts and I was thinking, wow, this is going pretty great. But I think it was only like halfway through the day. And I was starting to get worried that she was going to be reading a lot more and my TBR would be very, very long. But she did have to take care of some needs, so I made her go do that. I also made her make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and not cook her own food because she didn't know how to cook and I didn't feel like dealing with the fire. And so after she was done with that, she then went back to the bookcase and she picked up The Frequently Ending Story. She did that again. But then she DNF'd it this time instead of just looking at it and putting it away. So she really just didn't want to read that one. She also DNF'd Lucas Dark and the Increasingly Unlikely Series of Coincidences. And we were getting towards the end of the day. She decided to try out a children's book. Maybe she was really tired and she decided to read The First Unicorn, but DNF'd that as well. So at this point, she was tired. It was bedtime, but I overruled her trying to go to bed, and I decided to make her read one more book because we were only at 3, and I feel like most of my TBRs are 4 books long. So I decided to make her read one more book, and she finished Untamed Treachery of the Heart. So that became my 4th book and my 4th prompt for this. So to pick my books for this month, I decided to read through all of the Sims descriptions, and I will read them to you as well, and we will see how well I did with picking books for all of these. Like I said, my first prompt was Duskglow. It is a fantasy by Bella Jacobs, and it says, "This is the classic that started it all. Supernatural romance at its best. Young Darla must decide between a bad boy vampire and a nice werewolf boy who is friends with her dad. Guess who she picks?" So I feel like this is definitely based off of Twilight, but I wasn't going to read Twilight, and I couldn't really find any other paranormal romances that have an audiobook option for them because I'm basically going to be reading all my books via audiobook this month. So I looked up if this book that I had in mind had werewolves and vampires, and I believe it does. So I am finally going to be reading From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I don't know much about it. It's looking like this is about a girl named Poppy who is a maiden, and I don't know if she's about to be sacrificed to some gods or something, but it looks like maybe her bodyguard falls in love with her and helps her escape this. I could be totally off on this, but whatever I looked up online said that there's vampires for sure, and I think werewolves. So this is going to be book number 1 based off of Duskglow. All right, and her second book that she completed was Polka Dot Rumble, and this is a romance, and it is by Agatha Arlington. And it says, 1950s housewives face off in this intense, backstabbing, passive-aggressive drama. Gossip abounds and claws come out, but always with a polka dot apron and a smile. And I tried to look up all of the romance options that I had, and if they were set in the 50s, I looked up a list for books set in the 50s, and I just wasn't finding anything. So I decided that what I was going to do is look at my spreadsheet based off of some bookshelves that I have in my living room that are books that my great-grandma used to read and my grandma also read. So they're all mass market paperbacks, they're all romance, and I sorted my spreadsheet by top rated on Goodreads and saw that this book had an audiobook option and it was pretty highly rated, so I am going to be reading Texas Rich by Fern Michaels. I believe that it said something about somebody got married during World War II and whatnot, so if it's not set in the 30s, 40s, 50s, they were at least alive during that time, the characters were. So we're going to be reading this. Okay, so this says, Billie Ames was naive but a real knockout when she met Moss Coleman at the Philadelphia Navy Yard during World War II. Within a few months, she was pregnant and married to him. It was a marriage that brought Billie and her mother Agnes across the country to Austin to a 250,000-acre spread called Sunbridge and into the world of Texas Rich. The supremely entertaining novel is the story of 4 generations of the Colemans of Texas, of Moss and his father, Seth, obsessed with power, with airplanes, and with building a dynasty, of Seth's wife, Jessica, who modeled herself into the kind of woman Seth wanted, of Moss and Billy's children who have trouble living up to family expectations, of their grandchildren who must fulfill all of their dreams. It is the story too of Agnes Ames, who takes to wealth and power like she was born to it, and of Thad Kinsley, Moss's best friend who secretly loves Billy. Most of all, it is the story of Billy herself and her struggle to become her own person in a world dominated by Colemans. So before my grandma passed, she and I had gone through a lot of her books, and she sorted a few onto a top shelf that were her favorite books, and this was definitely one of the ones that she put immediately on there. So I've wanted to read this for a while. I looked on Goodreads and saw a review that said it's basically just rich people with rich people problems, so I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about it, and it was written in the 80s, I believe, so it could be of its time, but I feel like this is like a historical romance based off this prompt. I feel like it kind of matches. So this is book number 2 for the month. And then she read Tickle Your Own Ivories, which is a nonfiction by I.M. Smith. And it says, an easy piece that helps beginners get a good grasp of piano basics. And I am not currently interested in learning how to play piano. I don't think I have the time for that. So I figured a nonfiction self-help book would be decent enough. I have had my eye on Atomic Habits for a little bit, so I thought I would give that a try, see if I liked it. So that'll be what I spend my Audible credit on this month, just because I'm interested in what it is. I've heard good things about this, and who knows, maybe it'll help me form some slightly better habits in my life. So that will be what I pick for this third prompt. And for the last book my little sim self read was Untamed Treachery of the Heart. It's a romance and it's by Leslie Nighttime. It says, while parts of this saucy novel contain examples of your more typical treachery, the vast majority of this treachery is completely untamed. And I had no idea what that meant. I just figured it was kind of like a toxic relationship maybe, or just like a not so great relationship. So I had a really hard time with this one, but I decided to pull Chance of a Lifetime by Jude Deveraux. It says, in 1844 Ireland, Liam O'Connor, a rogue and a thief, fell madly in love with a squire's daughter and unwittingly altered the future. Shy and naive Cora McLeod thought Liam was the answer to her prayers, but the angels disagreed, and they've been waiting for the right moment in time to step in. Now Liam finds himself reunited with his beloved Cora in Providence Falls, North Carolina. The angels have given Liam a task. He must make sure Cora falls in love with another man, the one she was supposed to marry before Liam interfered. But this Cora is very different from the innocent girl who fell for Liam in the past. She's a cop and has a confidence and independence he wasn't expecting. She doesn't remember Liam or their past lives, nor is she impressed with his attempts to guide her in any way. Liam wants Cora for himself, but with his soul hanging in the balance, he must choose between a stolen moment in time or an eternity of damnation. Her being a little bit hardened in the future kind of makes it seem like a bit of an up and down relationship. I don't really know. I couldn't figure out what sort of book that I had on my shelf matched this perfectly, but this has an only 10-hour long audiobook, which means if I double the speed, it'll be very, very quick. So if I feel like this doesn't actually match, I can pick up another romance later. But those are my 4 books that Sims 4 picked. As a reminder, Duskglow gave me From Blood and Ash. Polka Dot Rumble gave me Texas Heat. Tickle Your Own Ivories gave me Atomic Habits. And Untamed Treachery of the Heart gave me Chance of a Lifetime. There is one other book that I do need to read in the month, and that is for my Story Continue book club that I host with Serena at Read the Riot. This month, of course, we are reading a TJ Klune book. His 3rd book in this Extraordinary series comes out in July, and to prepare for that, I definitely need to reread book 1 and 2 again. And so we are going to be reading The Extraordinaries, which is book 1, and it follows a teenager named Nick who has ADHD, and he is obsessed with Extraordinaries. He even writes fan fiction, kind of self-inserting himself into them based off of the Extraordinaries that live in his city. He is just absolutely obsessed with them, and he eventually ends up getting intertwined in all of their nonsense. So this is a really cute one. He has the cutest best friend ever, and they are just the most precious little beans ever together. So I figured for my birthday month, we have to read TJ Klune because I am still forever obsessed with his books. All right. I filmed this outro way too many times, so let's see if this is the final take. Probably not, but I will be reading 5 books in the month of June, and I think I'll be able to get through them pretty quickly because I have the audiobooks for everything except for The Extraordinaries, and I'm telling you, I am flying through audiobooks. So if you have any recommendations for those, please leave them in the comments so that I can check them out and have books on my audiobook TBR, because I'm telling you, I listen to an audiobook all day while I'm at work, so I am cranking through my TBR so far, which makes me so happy. And hopefully I will be able to vlog those videos for you in the future so that I have actual content, because I will not be doing what I did in May and not posting anything. I've gotten my routine a little bit more, and I'm hoping to have motivation and energy to film, edit, and publish videos. I swear I will do more than 0 videos in June. There will be at least 2. But I had a really fun time making this Sims video. If you want to use the idea, please send me your videos so I can see if your Sims are just as stubborn as mine and DNF every book that they pick up, and what your Sims prefer, because mine clearly leaned towards romance, which, you know what? She was my Sim self. She knew what was up. But if you have made it this far in the video, please leave me a green emoji to represent the little Sim plum bob, and I think that is all that I have to say. Like I said, I've filmed this outro 100 times. I've probably missed like 40 thoughts that I wanted to tell you, but you know what? We're at the end, and I'm just gonna say goodbye because I have to go very soon. So, you know, I will see you in my next video. I think it's a bullet journal video. I'm sorry I just post TBRs and bullet journals, but they're easy. All right, I'll see you later. I'm delirious from filming this outro way too many times. I've said that 400 times now. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.